Hello, I am Miguel. I come from Spain, but I've been visiting Malaysia for many years now. And this could be perhaps my fifth time in this country. I'm 61 years old and I don't work anymore, so I am retired. Well, migration is for me is like a consequence of traveling. So I started traveling to many countries in the world. And the first time I traveled to Asia, it was Singapore, my first country. And from Singapore, I traveled to Malaysia. I took a tour to Malacca, to JB, Johor Bahru, and KL, Kuala Lumpur. And I really felt something special about this country. And I decided it could be an option to live somewhere, but in my case, it wouldn't be full time, at least at an initial stage. It will be only part time. Well, I remember it was about 20 years ago that Malaysia wasn't very well known as a tourist destination in the West. But there was a program promoting Malaysia and saying Malaysia through Asia. And that caught my attention. That was the first thing. And then I decided to come here and experience Malaysia from Singapore. I traveled to Singapore first and then to Malaysia. And why Malaysia? Well, it could be other countries in the area. I would say that why Southeast Asia in the first place? I really like Southeast Asia. But then where in Southeast Asia? Because there are several options. You've got Thailand, you've got Vietnam, you've got Malaysia. Now you've got other countries that are coming, like the Philippines and Cambodia, places like that. But I think Malaysia was one of the best options. Or I don't like to say the best, but really it's certainly a very good option for many reasons. For people like me, healthcare is really a big point. You've got excellent healthcare here. It get tops rating every single year. So that's very important. Another, but this is very something idiosyncratic in my case. So it will be that I like multicultural societies. So other countries in the area are more monocultural, are more focused. They're okay. They're very interesting. I would love to live there as well, but I prefer to have a choice of and to learn from many different cultures living together in one place. One of the reasons why I decided that it could be an option has to do with weather, with climate. So my country, it has a reputation in Europe of being a warm country. It certainly is a warm country if you compare it with Germany, with Northern Europe, but sometimes it gets cold in the winter. And here you can choose your weather really. You can choose the weather you like. I think financial services are also of very high standard, considering it is still a developing country. It is considered a developing country. I think the level in the case of financial services is quite high. And that's also very important for foreigners that want to settle here. I've mentioned healthcare. Then again, this is not the main reason for me, but it's something you have to consider is the cost of living. It can't be the only thing, because otherwise it doesn't make sense to just move to a country because you're going to save money. But you have to consider if you can afford it or not. It is affordable. So healthcare is affordable. You've got good financial services. You can rent an apartment for a reasonable monthly rate. You've got excellent air travel all over the place. You're in the middle, right, of the region, Southeast Asia, close to Singapore. That's another reason, because Singapore is like the hub in the region. So you can go there. You want to attend a specific concert. You want to have a special weekend. It is more expensive, of course, Singapore, but you've got it there from time to time. So I think more or less, well, I forgot to mention the most important thing, the Malaysian people. And they are very kind, really. I mean, it's a feature you can find also in other countries, like let's say Thailand. They're also very kind. But Malaysians are themselves are they have a specific type of unique type of kindness. The food in Malaysia is very tasty, but you must be moderate when you eat Malaysian food because it has a lot of calories. But the good news is that you can choose from many types of food. So you don't have to eat Malaysian food every day if you don't want to get too fat. And you can actually choose Chinese or Japanese or Korean or any Asian food. Also Western food, but I don't think it makes a lot of sense to eat Western food here. So you can have Indian food. I forgot to mention India. There's a stronger presence of Indian community here. So there are many choices if you are interested in food. You've got also very good fish, for example, to choose from. Many people love eating fish, so I think it's a great thing. Oh, I think that's a great question because they are becoming these kind of programs are becoming quite popular nowadays. There's an aging population in the Western world, and I think there are quite a lot of people that are considering this possibility, especially because of healthcare. I think because healthcare has improved a lot in many of these countries. So I know, for example, my choices were either Thailand or Malaysia because of healthcare. There are other options. Cambodia has also a problem. And Vietnam, that will be a third option, Vietnam. And now I've learned that the Philippines, when I was traveling to Kuching, AirAsia had some information about the Philippines. So I would say those four. Well, for me, Malaysia, I already knew Malaysia and I was familiar with Malaysia. And yeah, it's also the multicultural aspect of Malaysia and the healthcare. So I would say I had promised to choose between Thailand and Malaysia, but in the end, I decided to go for Malaysia. There are other options in Latin America as well, quite a few. Many countries have set up this kind of programs. They differ. They're not exactly the same. In some cases, requirements are more strict. In some cases, you can, for example, in my case, you can have dual citizenship over the long run, because there's a convention that happens with Spain and Latin America, for example, and the United States, I think, also with some Latin American countries. But that's not so important, really. So I think most programs are well designed, and certainly the one in Malaysia, I think, is quite good. Well, I could answer this question in two ways. In my personal case, the challenges are not so huge because I have traveled a lot. So the main challenge for many people will be to get in contact with different cultures. That can be very, very different from the ones you are used to. Let's say we come from the West and this is Asia, right? So we've got Asian cultures here. That could be a challenge. Of course, the second challenge will be family. You have to make new friends. That's a challenge. How people overcome this challenge? There are two ways. One of them is get in contact with expat communities. There are plenty of them in Malaysia. That's one option. That's not certainly my preferred option. I want something more challenging. And what is it? To get in contact with local people. So that's what makes the whole thing really exciting. I don't remember exactly 100%, but I think it was. I carried out a web search. I was looking for, I knew of the existence of the my second home visa program. So I carried out the research, and there is like a government site related to this program, and then you've got a list of agents that are authorized by the government to deal with these issues. Then again, why did I choose Acropolis? I think it was because I could find a website. Some didn't have a website, and I got a clear explanation about how it worked. So that was one thing. And I don't remember if they also said they had a reference also. I think they did. Yes, they did. To the specific case in Borneo, Malaysia. So in this part of Malaysia where I was actually living at that time. So then I came across Acropolis. I sent a message to Acropolis. I don't know if it was an email. I think it was an email. And I got a very clear response about the criteria, about what they recommended in my case. So it was very clearly set up, very transparent. And I think also the fees were reasonable. I didn't have to pay everything up front, so there were some installments. So yes, I also had the feeling it's very difficult, but because you don't know the people, right? But even if they are authorized agents, but you can guess when you receive the response if they are knowledgeable. And I got the feeling that they were transparent and knowledgeable. So that was the reason why in the end I decided to choose Acropolis. Yeah. Well, Acropolis has done a great job, and as I said before, I'm very thankful to the Acropolis people that I've met. Of course, if somebody asked me for possible improvements, I would rather say feedback. I would call it feedback rather than improvements. There's always something to say. If you are honest, you say the good things, you say the things you can think could be done better. In this case, what do I think? Perhaps for someone who comes from the West and wants to live part-time or full-time, doesn't matter, in an Asian country, in a country with a different culture, perhaps some links about how it works with the banking system, for example, with hospitals. I think you have something about hospitals, but that's never enough. I mean, for example, direct experiences of patients that have been, I've visited a general practitioner or even have had surgery or dental care, which is wonderful in this country. And those kind of experiences, I think, are very enlightening and very encouraging for people to come here, to remove their fears, to say, well, you can be at home, you're going to have wonderful professionals, and not only that, you're going to have wonderful caring people. That's as important, just as important as good doctors. Once I'm the kind of person that makes decisions quite quickly. So once I got the response from Acropolis in KL, Cyberjaya in this case, and I thought, well, I'm going to go ahead, right? So once I said yes, it was very quick. I did get Remy and the agent here, and he was very quick. He came to my guest house. Actually, I was staying at a guest house, and it was all very friendly, really. And well, there were some documents needed. Some were more difficult to get, but now we have the internet, and you can actually get them over the internet. So it took, I don't know, about a couple of days to get all the documents. The only problem I had, and this was a hurdle, was my passport. Because my passport was valid, but was close to expiration, about 9 months or so. So it got delayed. And then my agent here took me to the immigration office here at the headquarters of the government of Sarawak, and they explained to me, and they were very clear, that they recommended me to renew my passport, to get a new passport with a, even my passport was quite valid to stay in the country, because they require 6 months, and mine was 9 months valid. But I said it was much better to get a new one, and then, because otherwise I would have had to stamp it twice. So that would have saved me time and perhaps money, I don't know. So but that delayed the whole thing about 1 or 2 months. But I think it was a good advice I got from the government, in this case, from the officer at the where the Acropolis agent Remy took me. They give me a good advice, because it's much better to get your pass, your new visa stamped on your new passport, and you forget about it for 5 years. Yeah. So then I had to come back. I expected it to be a bit quicker, but and I had to postpone my flight about a month. But that happens. I mean, that's quite normal. That these procedures take long, and I understand that they are not easy. That the government has to make sure that you are the right person, right? Yeah. So I think it was pretty straightforward on the whole. I'm happy with the service provided by my agents, in this case Acropolis, and I was also very happy with the Sarawak government. I'm very thankful to both the Acropolis company and the Sarawakan government, both for being generous and offering me this possibility. But then I would have paid more for the flight. So I had to strike a balance. You see, at which time of the year you're going to come. When you have, I had some festivals here in Kuching. I said, well, I'm going to go to those festivals. It's summertime, and then at the same time, it's the right time to get my visa stamped. I must say it was very easy. Once I was there, I didn't have to queue up a lot. I had to wait about 10-15 minutes, and I paid the final fees to the government, and I got my visa stamped in a very straightforward manner. I would start the answer with a typical English expression, last but not least. And certainly this is one of the most important things to consider. When you go to visit a country, first thing you have to bear in mind that it's other people's country. You have to learn about their customs. You have to respect their way of life. You have to be thankful to the people who receive you there as a tourist. But if you're moving forward to become a resident, part-time or full-time, then you must do your homework in a more conscious manner. In my case, for example, I started studying a little bit of Malay, Bahasa Melayu. It is not necessary, people speak wonderful English, but I recommend that you learn at least the basics of the local language, because that will make a huge difference in terms of making friends, but not only friends, doing anything in this country, going to a bank, going to a shop, going to a coffee bar, wherever you go, if you can say Selamat Pagi or whatever, Terima kasih or whatever, that makes a huge difference. That's my I think that was my biggest piece of advice.